Hi, I'm Cory King, and I'm the president and founder of the Pink Wig Foundation. We're just sitting here with Pam McDonald today, doing a follow-up interview. She's a past recipient from 2015, so we're just going to get a little follow-up and see how she's doing today. You were a recipient back in 2015 of the Pink Wig Foundation. We got to meet you back then. We heard your story at the gala there, at the gala in 2015. It was very touching story, and just want to follow up with you and see how you're doing today and kind of what's happened since. But let's just do a quick recap of basically just before your diagnosis and kind of what you're going through and some of the things that led up to the diagnosis.
Okay. So after my diagnosis, they deemed that I couldn't go through surgery. So I went through chemo, radiation, and brachytherapy, which was about 1.5 to 2 months long for treatment, max rounds of everything. After treatment, it was a tough road. So there was about 2 months or so where I couldn't go shopping, couldn't leave the house. I'd get too fatigued leaving. So I had like a 20-minute window where my husband knew that I could leave the house with him to go get things like groceries or whatnot.
You're just so tired?
Just so tired.
Yeah.
So it was hard. I'd had to rely on him a lot for just about everything. Physically, mentally during that time frame, you're just hoping that you get the go-ahead from the doctor that things are clear. But it plays on you a lot, so I had a lot of anxiety, lots of...
I'm sure, and like you're dealing with focusing on trying to get healthy, but then you have all these other things that are going on, like your day-to-day life stuff that still goes on after that, right?
Yeah.
Like that you need to worry about financial
Exactly.
worries and stuff like that.
So my husband and I had gotten married just previous to my diagnosis, 3 months beforehand, and the plan was get married, have kids, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
My first question when I was diagnosed in the doctor's office was, can I have kids? And their answer was a pretty swift no. So we did IVF, egg retrieval, right before I started my treatment because we knew that I couldn't do that after. So after we did that, we tucked those away. We had some freezer reserves.
Mm-hmm.
And I basically knew that was the one thing I really wanted, and through treatment that was the one thing that was being taken away from me. And so my sister applied for Pink Wig on our behalf because of that, knowing that we weren't financially set up to do the IVF, the surrogacy, and all those things. So she had actually applied for us because of that. And I'll be honest, I was completely shocked when I got the call from Brittany, but I was out for a walk with the dogs, and my sister had mentioned, like in passing, hey, I applied for this for you. And I had
didn't even know about it?
I had never seen the letter.
Oh my God.
So
it was pretty shocking then,
yeah,
right?
so she called me and said, you're one of our recipients, and I was in shock and awe because the thing was people may be donating to Pink Wig. They may be donating money, but what comes out of that is not, it's money, but it's not financially, people aren't gaining financially from it. They're gaining the hope to get them through treatment. During treatment, the big thing that kept me going was we knew that we were going to have to pursue a surrogacy. That there was no way around that. Mm-hmm. We weren't set up, like I said, financially for a surrogacy. Pink Wig gave us the finances to not worry about that aspect of things. So going through treatment, it's hard enough thinking about, am I going to die? Am I going to die tomorrow, 6 weeks from now, maybe in 5 years? Let alone, I just had the chance to have kids taken away. So, so it was tough, but we had somebody come forward from one of the doctor's offices and saying, hey, I'd be interested in being a surrogate. So that I knew was possible. And once I got the the call from Pink Wig, it meant that the other hurdle for me was taken away. So during my treatment, I could solely focus on getting better. And when you're going through cancer treatment, it's very much whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And when you have hope taken away, so is your chance of surviving.
There's nothing left then, right?
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. So when you, let's rewind just a little bit. So you went in, and like how big was the tumor that they had?
It's my Lyme.
Yeah. So that's how big your tumor was.
This is the size of how big the tumor was. Size of a regular size Lyme.
And it was cervical cancer.
It was cervical cancer.
Right.
So it had spread to the lymphatic system. So they couldn't just go in and do surgery to take this out.
Right.
They had to go do full treatment.
Full treatment. So that's chemo, radiation,
and brachytherapy. So brachytherapy is an internal radiation where the isotopes actually go right on the tumor, so it's pretty intense.
Right, and start to shrink it down.
Yeah.
And then, so you go in, you get your radiation, chemo. How long was chemo? Six weeks.
There was
of chemo?
I think 5 or 6 rounds of chemo, a month and a half of external beam radiation, and then about I can't remember exactly, but it was 4 to 6 weeks of brachytherapy where you'd go in once a week.
So and this is all bundled into like 2 months of intense
daily.
Oh man. And so what are you feeling when you're going through that? It's probably like a whirlwind type moment where you're just
it's like
focused
moment by moment.
Yeah.
Put yourself in the highest pressure situation you could imagine, and where you can only focus on every second as it comes, and that's how the entire treatment is.
You're just dealing with that every and trying to gain the strength to probably just get to the cancer center that day, just
exactly.
to go do that.
Yeah. So my husband was still working constantly, so a lot of that was either I'd have a friend or family member pop by, but most of it was alone.
Right. So
So
are you taking yourself down to the cancer center and
Yeah.
doing all that? Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, women are dealing with a lot when they're going through treatment. It's not just, hey, I need to clean the house, or I need help cleaning the house.
Right.
It's, I need help driving myself to the cancer center.
Well, it's tough.
Or-
Probably tough to even just get up to make yourself some food, or you know, or I know there's.
Well, I wasn't cooking anything, and the anxiety is real. I remember going out for some food. I had one of my my family members fly out to Saskatoon to visit, and my husband and I and my family member went out to eat, and they had given me the wrong sauce on the side of my plate, and I remember just breaking down and crying in the middle of the restaurant.
Oh wow! Hey.
Like it's
very
intense. It is not.
It might have been just like a breakdown moment though, where you just needed, you just hit that breaking point.
Like I said, it's moment by moment, and cancer treatment puts you on such an edge that it's the anxiety, it's the stress of, am I going to survive? It's the stress of, how am I going to afford things? It's the stress of, can I find a surrogate? Could I find a surrogate? Am I going to have kids? Will I be able to work again? What will I do if I don't exist? That is a big one.
How will your husband? How will
Right.
he deal with it all?
Is he going to marry somebody else?
Yeah.
It's all the little things that all pile on to one big thing that I'm sure everybody goes through when they get diagnosed with cancer.
Well, obviously, the Tracy story, and she went through it. I went through it with her, and what I came to realize is there's like the 3 main stresses. Like there's the emotional stress, the physical stress, and then the financial stress.
Mm-hmm.
And you can only take one of those away. You're gonna have that emotional stress. You're gonna have that physical stress.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe if you can take that financial, or just help with the financial stress a bit. So that's where the Pink Wig started. And it was Tracy's vision to keep that going, because she knew that's all you could really do to help out anybody in that situation, right?
And it's not money that these people are providing. It's the hope. Said, it's the hope that they're providing.
I love the way you put that. It's so true. Let's just rewind a little bit further. So before you got the diagnosis, what kind of symptoms did you have? What were you feeling like?
So for about a year, first. But so first of all, I had spotty bleeding. So I didn't know what was going on because things were always pretty by the book for me. Everything was like a calendar.
Yeah.
You know, nothing very...
Nothing out of the ordinary ever.
Nothing.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden stuff started kind of happening?
Yeah, so it's not like I had, like the first thing somebody said to me when I told them I had cervical cancer once is they said that you must have HPV. And I've been tested for HPV and it was negative. So I don't know where the cancer came from. I don't know how I got it. But I noticed that I had some strange bleeding going on and weird back pain. I was an avid gym person. Like I was working out every single day. I was healthy. I was eating well. You know, I was fit. I wasn't overweight. I wasn't not looking after myself. And I just was getting very tired. My hair was falling out a lot too. So
little things you started to notice that started to add up a little bit. So that you go into the doctor, you start asking some questions, and what did they tell you?
And the doctor told me I was premenopausal. So they started treating me with hormones, thinking that all the symptoms were there. It must have been hormonal, which it was in a way,
right.
But it was caused by a tumor.
Right.
So it got to the point where I couldn't work anymore. Well, I was still working, but I was bleeding so much that if for instance, if I went to the gym and I did an activity that was maybe a little bit intense, I couldn't stop the bleeding. So it was not normal female
something was going on.
Bleeding.
And the doctors are telling you that you're fine, everything's okay.
The doctor said, you know, we'll send you to a specialist, and they booked a specialist appointment for me, which to see a gynecologist in Saskatoon, I was waitlisted, I think it was 8 months. So I waited 8 months to see them. In those 8 months, I was treated with hormones and was expecting a diagnosis of maybe thyroid issues or something wrong hormonally, just because that's what they had set me up for.
You're not thinking of
No.
the worst, probably,
No.
right? Yeah.
And, you know, everybody Googles. You
Of
always
course.
Google things thinking, what could it be?
Yeah.
And so I had Googled, and cancer had come up, and I thought, no, that's not even close to what it could be.
Yeah.
So I passed over it and wish I wouldn't have. But so they kept giving me hormones and treating me as if I was menopausal and trying to figure out what was going on. So lots of blood tests, all sorts of different tests. But finally I had that appointment with the gynecologist, and it was the December 23rd, so the day before Christmas Eve. And I went to the gynecologist office here in Saskatoon, and she did an exam, and they get those little popsicle sticks happening, and she poked what I found out was a tumor, but she poked it with a popsicle stick, and I bled out all over her table, and she sat me up and said, I'm really sorry, I don't need to do a biopsy, but we're gonna do one anyhow, but I have to tell you that you have cervical cancer.
Oh my God.
And
she knew right away.
She knew, yeah, because the tumor was big enough that she could actually see it on an exam.
Oh my God.
So, my Lyme.
Yeah, that's crazy. So how long did it take from when you first started going in and like asking the doctors what's wrong with me till that day? Did it take a long time?
It was over a year.
So meanwhile, it's spreading, it's getting
Right.
around your body.
And hormones fuel it, so.
But your body, you knew something was wrong with you.
100%, yeah.
So listen to your body.
So I harp on everybody, you know, do your pap tests, because I had done them and it never caught a thing, but at least if you're going in, they're doing a visual exam and they could see it. Not to say that maybe it wouldn't get caught on the tests they do, but maybe they'd see it.
Wow.
So I always tell people not to wait those 2 years. You can request one every year, and that's
Right.
what people should do.
Well, and how old were you when you were diagnosed?
34.
34. Yeah, so very young. And
Yeah.
I know the same thing happened with Tracy when she went in. She was bleeding all the time. Almost the exact same story as you as far as that's concerned.
But there's a
you know,
stigma around it too.
For sure.
For women.
For sure there is.
So.
And it was tough for her to go and talk to the doctor about it because they would just push her away. You're fine, everything's fine, you're young, don't worry about it. But she knew something was wrong, so she was very confused then. Like,
yeah.
you know, the doctors are telling me one thing, but I'm
because your
feeling
body is telling you that there's something wrong. Like,
exactly.
You know it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward now. You got your treatments. You were in the cancer center about 2 months of solid chemo, radiation, and what's the other name of the other?
Brachytherapy.
Brachytherapy. So you're doing all that, and then you take a break, and it's you hit your max on everything, so you couldn't go any longer with those. So now it's just a waiting game after that.
Yes. So then they have you wait, and they do scans to see how everything progresses. Once I finished all my treatment, it had gone from the size of a lime down to about the size of a Tylenol. So it had shrunk substantially. They found that my lymph nodes were clear, so the cancer that was in my lymph nodes had disappeared. So from there, they just wait, and they do scans and see how things continue to shrink. And so I've been in with the cancer center for quite a while, and they just recently gave me the go-ahead to say that I'm in remission.
Wow.
So that was this year.
That was just this year?
Yeah.
So that's a long road.
It is, yeah.
Right,
so
starting in 2015, and it was just this year that...
Just this year, like I think it was 3 months ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah,
That's
thanks.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's so amazing. It's got to be a pretty crazy feeling and emotional time as well for you and your husband. And so you have your husband, and so when you're going through all this, you put some money away to
we had the dream of the surrogacy.
Of the surrogacy. So let's talk about that a little bit.
So we found a surrogate. My doctor actually, one of the ones that was helping with, I take hormone replacement therapy now, so all artificial. And the doctor that was helping me with that, she wrote into a newspaper and had there was an article written about us and our struggle to find a surrogate. We did find a surrogate, and we tried to do implant with our own embryos. And through that, we found out that our embryos just weren't working. So we did a couple implants with the one surrogate.
Yep.
It got to a point where she couldn't continue with us. So we also found out through the process that, so we ran out of embryos. We used up all our embryos. Nothing worked. So we actually went out and got donor embryos. Donor eggs. We created embryos with my husband, and then found out that my husband has, they call it DNA fragmentation, where the embryo will go to a certain point and then it doesn't go any further, so it terminates. So it was only going to about day 5, and then the embryo would terminate itself. So through a lot of extra testing, everything that he had tested on prior to that said that everything was a go, so we wouldn't have known had we not paid for all this extra testing. And with that extra testing, we found out that neither of us could have kids.
Oh, wow.
So we went donor egg, donor sperm, and my cousin came forward and said that she wanted to continue with us on our surrogacy journey.
Wow.
And through my cousin, she became pregnant in September of last year. And we just delivered a baby boy in May.
Oh, yay. Congratulations.
Thanks.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Graham.
Nice. So that happened 3 months. He's 3 months old now.
Yeah, so he's our little miracle baby.
Oh, man.
So had Pink Wig not kicked us off on this whole journey, we would have never started it. And my dream through all of cancer treatment to have this baby never would have come true. So...
It's really amazing.
Yeah, so because of that, like, we may have pursued it at some point in time, but finances were what was mentally holding us back. We knew that, hey, this is going to cost a lot of money.
Yeah, and you just knew there was no chance at doing that without, right? And that's the vision of Pink Wig, and Tracy's vision is to help out someone when they're going through cancer, but to make sure that they try to
It
try
takes
to
the burden away.
right.
Yeah.
And just to be like keep those dreams alive,
Mhm.
you know, and whether it's even you know, some in the worst cases people are terminal, but maybe if they can go do a bucket list trip
Right.
somewhere,
And
which
like
is
I
what
said,
Tracy did,
it's the
right?
hope.
It's the hope.
You're not going to get through cancer unless you keep it in your head that you've got a chance of surviving and going on to live normal life. I mean, there's a chance,
Of course.
but
Yeah.
when you're not giving yourself 100% to something, you have a less chance of succeeding.
For sure.
So Pink Wig takes away all the other thoughts and just lets you focus on getting better and having the hope to get better. So like knowing that you could do this, there's no finances holding you back. You can just focus on yourself and getting better and your family. So, yeah.
Thank you for sharing your story today. It's great to follow up and see where you're at. You know, we haven't done any follow-ups. You're our first follow-up, so we just thank you, all of us at the Pink Wig. Thank you for coming here and sharing your story
Yeah.
today. And
Well, thank you, because I mean, what you did for us was amazing.
well, it's yeah. There's a lot of people that have to come together to make something like that happen. You know, all of our sponsors and individuals that have donated over the years, and then all the people that have sat on the board as well and helped
Yeah.
out. It's a lot, but we thank you for coming here. I know it's not easy to do, but we appreciate it.